Buying good seafood shouldn't feel like a gamble. Wild Alaskan Company offers the best way to get wild-caught, high-quality seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. Each Wild Alaskan box comes with individually portioned fillets, vacuum-sealed, easy to prep, and great for any meal no matter how quick or elevated. Never farmed, no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just high-quality fish that tastes incredible every single time. Backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/hooked for $35 off your first box.
This is the Fearless Now podcast. My name is Sam Led, and I'm an ADHD coach. Let me be your peace of mind Uber driver as we explore what is possible when we learn how to use our brilliant, high-speed ADHD mind to work for us and not against us. And if you want to book a personal coaching session with me, go to samledconsulting.com and click on the Work With Me button. My brand new book, Beyond ADHD, is now available on Amazon. So go out and get yourself a copy. It's a book filled with visceral, in-the-moment stories, research on common ADHD benchmarks, and breakthrough insights. Beyond ADHD can help you recognize the latent superpowers of your own unique ADHD mind. Go out and get Beyond ADHD today. It's available on Amazon. Welcome to the Fearless Now podcast. My name is Sam Led. I'm an ADHD coach and author of the book Beyond ADHD. And I say in the beginning of every one of my episodes, I can't believe I had the attention span to sit and actually write 35,000 words. But I have another brilliant author, a real beacon of light to all of us, Glenn Sturm, who has beaten tremendous odds. He's still with us today, a cancer survivor. He's lived many lifetimes, I think, in his life. I'm going to read his bio because what I'm saying does no justice. The fact that he's here with us, sharing his wisdom, his story, and I'm going to shut up in about 10 seconds after I read his bio, his story, and how he's a wonderful example of our inner resilience. And I said to Glenn in our proverbial green room that, you know, the title of my podcast, The Fearless Now, perfectly exemplifies Glenn and his strength and seeing the innate wisdom and the innate resilience that's within all of us. That I think is the truth, and that's where all the great sages pointed us to. Name your favorite sage, name your favorite Jesus, Buddha, the Maharishi, whoever you point to. He is pointing us to that space of inner resilience and light, and what is possible. So I'm going to read his bio. It's a long one, but I think it deserves every word. And so I hope you guys just listen, my beautiful and loyal audience, and just take in what Glenn has accomplished and what Glenn has persevered in, not only his professional life, but also in his health, his mental health, etc. So here it goes. When a diagnosis shatters your sense of control, a roadmap from someone who's been through the darkness can be a lifetime. Glenn Sturm is a 17-year survivor, 4-time best-selling author, cancer survivor, and a decorated military officer with over 3 decades of service. He's battled incurable cancer for 16 years and does not just talk about survival. He shows us what it means to reshape our identity after everything changes. Glenn's transition from a top attorney and military leader to a relentless advocate for cancer patients is a story you won't forget. And I agree. Glenn's message is not about cliches. It's about practical, emotional survival, including what no one tells us, which is true. And I was listening to part of Glenn's audiobook about like the phone call he got at the airport. It's like, by the way, come in for a biopsy. You got cancer. It's like, okay, what do I do with this now? It's about practical and emotional survival, including what no one tells us, how to protect our energy, and the critical role of hope. Glenn knows what it's like to hear you have the cancer the big C, whatever you want to call it, and what it takes to fight for joy every day. Glenn, thank you for coming. Thank you for being, and I'm going to hand the conch over to you, because again, you are the beacon for all of us, and so I'm going to shut up now and let you talk.
Well, you brought up the call. I mean, I got a phone call. They had done biopsies in early December, and on January 21st, I'm on my way to the University of North Carolina to give a presentation. And the phone rang, and I didn't recognize the number. I said, that was back in the days you would answer a phone call like that. And I answered it. It was my doctor, and she said, Glenn, we got the biopsies back. And I said, what biopsies? She said, the ones we did for Christmas. And I said, oh, okay, whatever. And she said, they came positive back for lymphoma. You've got cancer. And initially I thought it was a joke, because I ran triathlons and marathons, and she was one of the doctors that I ran with occasionally. And I said, okay, which one of you guys put her up to this?
Bad joke.
Said, it was bad. I thought it was a bad joke, but my friends aren't beyond doing that.
Okay.
And she immediately reassured me that I had come back from positive for a form of cancer that was probably incurable, but we needed to get on it right away. So I said, okay. So I got on the plane. I was at gate B13. What a wonderful number and letter.
Right.
But anyway, and so I got on the plane, went to North Carolina, got to see UNC beat Clemson again. And then, flew back, got more biopsies. And 3 weeks later, I was at Smilow Cancer Center, Yale University, with the world's expert. And when I walked in the place, she just looked at me and said, yeah, you got, an incurable T-cell lymphoma. And so she immediately put me on chemo that day. And I was on chemo the rest of that year. And towards the end of the year, she said, Glenn, this chemo is not working. This oral agent's not working right. We're going to have to put you on IV. I said, IV? Okay, that's interesting. So what does that mean? She said, it's 3 days every 3 weeks. You have to be in New Haven, Connecticut for the IV. And I said,
good
okay.
Pizza, though. Good pizza.
Yeah, I mean, you got great pizza.
Yeah.
I've got a great pizza story, because I'll give you that now, because look, there's always something positive in everything. And one of the great pizza places is Sally's.
My favorite. I'm from New Haven, by the way. I was born in New Haven Hospital. Yeah. So I know Sally's a pizza.
So I was there with my oncologist one night getting pizza, and the son of the owner he said, where are you from? And I said, Jackson, Wyoming. And he said, well, really? I'm taking my best friend there. He's got incurable cancer. And we're trying to find the resources to get it. And I said, done. He said, what do you mean? I said, military guy, got Agent Orange stuff. And he said, that's it. And I said, wow. Okay, I've got a nice house out there. You can stay in it for free. And I'm buying this plane ticket.
Wow. And the greatest pizza place, the greatest hole-in-the-wall pizza place, I think, as a Connecticut, originally from, Connecticut person. Wow.
Well, the neatest thing that they did for me, though, was give me a key to the back door. So I never had to wait in line again.
Wow. I mean, like, I remember as a little kid in snowstorms waiting in line. I mean, it took like an hour and a half. Wow.
And my doc, who's like the world's expert in T-cell lymphoma, looks at me after they gave me the key, and she said, can I have that? And I said, no, it's my key. We took care of her, though, because she was taking care of me. But anyway, it was kind of a funny story. But that's kind of what happened. And what I decided immediately was I would never let cancer define me. I didn't know how, as I said in my
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by define?
Well, people always say that, they got cancer and that's their life. Right. And no, cancer was I joke about it being a tax. We don't have state income tax in Wyoming. So I've got this other tax. So it consumes about 7 to 10% of my year, which is what a lot of people pay an income tax. So I wasn't going to let it define me. It was just another hill to climb. And, I continue to work out. I continue to race bicycles. I continue to do other things. And I started with a Caring Bridge blog, which turned into my first book, and then my second, third, and now fifth book. And it's just cancer's a tax. And if you let cancer define you, that will be your life. If you say it's not going to define you, what's going to define you is trying to make the world a better place. That changes everything for however long you get. And I've been very blessed. My daughter was told right after I got diagnosed that I didn't ask, but she was told I had 2.5 years. Well, I'm now starting my 18th year of chemo.
Knocking on my wood between my ears right here. There's something that happens when we stop identifying with our illness, our depression, our state of income. And I'm not saying that, life's a context for it. As you know firsthand, we're going to get our knocks. I mean, this. When I was going through a divorce or had some major life struggles, it's very normal and very human for us to get caught up in the emotional tumult. And I love for you where, it's like everyone, if I put 5 people in the room and they got the call like you did at the airport, you'd get 5 different answers. You get 5 different people with 5 different answers, right? That's how brilliant the human experience is, to say that we're none of us would respond the same way, right? Some people like you would be like, this has got to be a joke. You're like, are you putting me up to this? And then someone else would break down. Someone else would have a nervous breakdown, and et cetera, et cetera. I think for you, you just kind of dropped at it's almost like you saw beyond the very normal human brain self-protection system's way of going into fight or flight or stress mode. However, you led a career, and I was listening to your audiobook where you were in high stress environments. There was a lot of money on the table. You're doing complex business deals and stuff. And it's interesting that you had a very different experience with the cancer diagnosis. It's almost like you went into a bit. It's like after the joke, okay, this is not a joke. You went into business mode. Is that kind of what happened, or am I misreading it?
Well, yeah. My whole life is we're solving problems, and that's what I do. But I mean, one of the things that happened positively, my mom, when I was 5, gave me a camera. My dad was an Army officer. We were in Germany. We're getting ready to take a trip around Europe for 30 days in a Volkswagen Bug with my 2 sisters and a German Shepherd in the back seat.
Oh, wow.
And my mom gave me the camera so I wouldn't pull my sister's hair out. Well, what happened was, shortly thereafter, I read that there was going to be an eclipse in Jackson, Wyoming. And so I said, okay, I'm going to shoot the eclipse. And I put together a team to do it. And then something happened. I'm walking to my infusion center at Smilo, and I started noticing my environment. Well, initially I just walked in and walked out, but I didn't really notice it. But it turned out that I had to walk by the Children's Infusion Center every day I went for chemo. And I see these parents with their babies who've got cancer, and the parents are just being totally distraught. I'm sitting here saying, well, give me a break. I don't have that problem. It's just me, and I can deal with it. And so one of the things I've done, which I've got there are 2 phrases I love. And that first one is put a smile on somebody's face every day.
Give it
Because
away. Give the
if you
joy
put
away.
say again?
Give the joy away. Give it away.
Absolutely. If you put a smile on somebody's face every day, you end up putting a smile on yours. And that's the first thing. And so the second thing is we must all give up hope for a better yesterday. I can't change yesterday, but I can change the future.
Mm.
And so what I do is 100% of the revenue from my astrophotography goes to children's health.
What's astrophotography again? Because
I
would Google it. You're Google right now.
Yeah, I shoot eclipses all over the world.
Oh wow! One's coming up on Tuesday, right? Was it Wednesday?
Well, there's a solar eclipse coming up on August 12th, and that's what I focus on. And that one, the next one's in Spain on August 12th, and it's a sunset eclipse into the Atlantic Ocean. And the most spectacular things you'll ever see.
Wow.
And so there are three of us who take them. I focus on the the close-ups to so I get the solar flares. One of my colleagues focuses with the 15 millimeter to get the time lapses, and then another one does the coronas. And we don't, all the revenue from the sales of the individual photographs is given to cancer-related causes. I mean, there's a brain cancer thing I'm doing on April 8th or 9th that I'm going there, and we're going to do I think a 4 foot by 6 foot picture of a solar eclipse with the solar flares. And the other thing that's neat about eclipses is the night of an eclipse, a solar eclipse, is a new moon. So you can see all the stars in the sky. You see the Milky Way. You see everything. And it just opens your eyes up to see more things. And
what I love, and I didn't interrupt you, but I love, Glenn, there's a metaphor there for, I don't mean to get all pithy, but it's what I do.
Yep.
Eclipses are a symbol or a metaphor for change, right? And it's interesting that you had such an attraction to taking pictures, and it's beautiful, that experience. It's metaphysical, but for you, in your journey in life, I mean, there's been so much, especially the last 20 years or however long, there's been a lot of change. And it's interesting, and the beautiful irony to that, but it's also a beautiful metaphor. Like, that's what, the human experience is not linear. It's going to be change, and there's going to be ups and downs and sideways. And
yeah,
I just love that about, like what you're doing, because astrophotography is, and taking pictures of eclipses is about the human journey. I know that sounds so like California,
no. Let me give you a good one. I cannot believe we got this, but I believe I'm a lawyer and did deals and stuff, and hired great lawyers to work with me who are intellectual property protection. But a syzygy, all eclipses are syzygies, which is three celestial objects inside a gravitational field that form a straight line. All eclipses are syzygies, but not all syzygies are eclipses. And my book series on eclipses is the syzygy series, and we got the federal trademark on that.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how we got that.
Yeah.
But if you don't ask, you can't get. And I mean, one of my other phrases I love is "only you can stop you." And let me give you an anecdote on that. I went to 4 high schools. I went to 12 schools growing up. Dad was an Army officer. We always moved. So we moved to Florida after my dad's retired. That's where Mom and Dad were going to stay after they retired. And I went to a high school, and I was not really impressed with it academically. And so we had the first parent-teacher conference, and I was there because I was a senior. And my teacher told my parents I shouldn't go to college. I should go to trade school because I wouldn't make it through college. 2 weeks later, we had an in-state SAT at the time. It was called the Florida Senior Placement Test. And I got the first perfect score in my school's history on that test. And so I had fun with that because only you can stop you.
Mm.
Nobody else can stop you. I was going to go to college, didn't matter. Now, when I got the perfect score, I got my choice of schools.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is people will all the time tell you what you can and cannot do. No, you can do anything you choose to do, and you can make the world better. And we all have different ways of doing that, but only you can stop you. Well, that phrase actually has two components to it, and that's the first side of it. But sometimes you're the only one who'll stop you, and you need to stop you, if that makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
I had to get rid of the stress in my life to cure myself or to survive. I had to eliminate the stress. I mean, I was in the most crazy stress environment I could imagine. I wasn't being shot at anymore, but it was figuratively being shot at every day. So, you can stop things that get in your way in life. You can you can change your future. And that's what I think I've been okay at. I'm now an author. I mean, in third grade, my parents were told I should never get a job that involved writing. Well, we fooled them.
I think you didn't listen to that advice.
Exactly.
So was it the corporate what do you call it? Room. Not ballroom. The corporate was, I mean,
Firm?
Well, no, you go into an office, there's all these people sitting around a table. What do you call that?
Yeah. Oh, the conference room?
The corporate conference room is where you're doing all your battles, and then it doesn't matter what it is. I do think, go ahead, sorry.
Well, the interesting thing about it was the stress was not external.
Okay,
I was the corporate chairman for a long time, and then on the compensation committee, we called it the executive committee. We ran the firm. That's where the stress was.
Yeah, but could you argue though that it wasn't your external environment? It was your thinking about your external environment and the story going on in your head about these important decisions that you have to make as a corporate officer in the C-suite. I guess it's called the C-suite.
Yep.
And the story you're telling yourself at the C-suite, and how you're interpreting what your colleagues in your cohort was telling you about what was going on. And then, because our brain loves to keep us really small, keep our world safe, it's going to, we have a very old operating system between our ears that's constantly informing us about how dangerous everything is. And I always say we have an operating system that hasn't had a software update since like the Paleolithic era, since God, I mean, we got old software. I think the TSA is, it's like I always say we have a TSA brain, because it's so old. Like you were dealing with old communication software, but and we're never really taught how to use emotional intelligence and understand what that means in coping and locus of control. Growing up, we're just taught to memorize and regurgitate stuff, especially your generation. I think my generation too. And we're starting to kind of dip into that. But I think it's also all related to, a mechanical body that has a limit, right? I mean,
there's no doubt it has a limit. And, the thing is when you're being constantly attacked, and in some jobs you are, and some jobs you're so passionate about your clients, your patients, whatever, that they're not attacking you, you attack yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're not successful enough in fixing things.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when I got cancer, at the end of the first year, I had to go on IV, and I couldn't continue to practice. Mm-hmm. And so I was, pushed into retirement when I was 54. And, what do you do then? And so, I started shooting eclipses, and then I started doing my Caring Bridge posting, which turned into Cancer Set Me Free. And I had all this Army background, so I wrote a book about the military and military failures for the past, what is it now, 80 years. and then I've got my first novel coming out in the future. And, so I've been able to celebrate life every day.
Well, that's it. Like, it's almost like the big C pushed you into the next chapter. And
that's the reason for
painful
the name of my
chapter.
book. Well, that's the reason the name of the book, Cancer Set Me Free.
Yeah.
Because I was able to let go of the other stuff and just celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only thing I that's what I always thought. But then when you're an author, you become highly self-critical about things. What do I do to make it better?
Yeah.
And in my novel, I got an editorial review halfway through because I wanted to see if I was a fool for doing it. And by the way, that's one of my two golden retrievers over my right shoulder, my left shoulder. That's Lulu.
They keep you young.
Yeah, they do. But the thing is I was kind of in shock when what they said, because they said it was really an amazing book, and I said, no, that's nuts. I thought that was, it's in a different room, so hopefully it'll go quickly. But what happened is when they said how good it was, I second guessed them, and I had to rewrite everything and make it better. You have to make it better. Well, okay. Well, sometimes you got to let go.
Yeah.
Okay. And let other people, help you. And that's the other thing is I've been fortunate because my caregivers are my two Goldens, and I've got two wonderful daughters and a son. They live all over the country and the world, but I don't understand how the caregivers do it, because they can't really affect what you're going through.
Mm.
I wonder if I've been better off because I haven't had to worry about the other people so much.
Well, I think there's when you talk about letting go, that's the hardest thing for a human being to do.
Yes,
because we have neuromachinery that doesn't want to. I grew up with tropical birds, and a cockatoo, a Moluccan cockatoo, has 300 pounds per square inch of pressure in their beak. So when they clamp down on something or someone, it's hard for them to let go. And I think that's a metaphor for how we clamp down and hyper focus. And coming back to speaking about ADHD and in my journey in mental health, that's what we do. We hyper focus on stuff, some most of the time unrelated to what we should be focusing on. But I think as a neuro machine between our ears, we have sometimes a proclivity to hyper focus on things that aren't serving a greater purpose. Like you having to rewrite you beating yourself up even when an editor says, "Wow, this book is freaking fantastic." And I can't believe, I did the same thing, by the way. I wrote a book about ADHD called Beyond ADHD. And I have it in my bookcase. You can't see it. And I was just like, this thing's a piece of crap. Come on. You jerk. It's like when you got the cancer diagnosis and you're like, no, come on. Do you pulling my leg? But I think that's a very human experience. But it's also something not to take on as truth. I mean, because we do it to ourselves in ways like we create such drama within ourselves.
You have said so many things today that are so spot on. It's refreshing. But let me tell you the interesting thing that's going on in cancer care.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with the new multi-factor or multi-professional integrated cancer cancer diagnosis and teams, the multi-factor cancer teams that are helping people?
Vaguely, but
so let me give you a couple stats.
Yeah.
Okay. The first stat is if you're in a multi-factor team, your survival rate has improved dramatically, and it's all over the board. Mine's improved by 70%.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. And that's actually the average.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a silo-based practice, it hadn't changed at all.
Mm.
So now there's only one problem with that. If you have that impact, if the multi-factor or multi-disciplined approach has near perfect communication skills, because there can be up to 30 professionals involved in helping you. And by the way, I think psychiatry, psychology is the second most important part of it.
Yeah.
And, that's one thing. But if they don't communicate, you might die because of the failure to communicate. And that's what happened to me last year, was the docs didn't talk to each other. And they got me this problem, and it took a while to get out of it. But you think about that. I mean, how simple would it be for people to just talk to each other? Well, it's very
like being you're doing right now. We're just having a conversation like two old buddies talking about life and
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but that's what you do, and you help to foster communication and people and understanding. Well, if people work in a silo and they don't consider everything else, you got real problems. If you work as a team, it's astounding what you can accomplish. And
I have a tendency my mind goes to, the first thing that came into my mind is, what about group think? Like I always look at history, we're taught in the history books, group think led to the Bay of Pigs disaster, and the Challenger disaster. I know that's a cliche and you're laughing because, well,
it's spot on.
Right. And I go back to the Eric Hoffer quote, the learners inherit the earth, and the ones that think they know everything and prepared for a world doesn't exist. And for you, it's like I love the silo approach scares me. It's like flying a plane with just one pilot. And yes, if you're a fighter pilot in the 1940s, a lot of times it's solo, right? But we're not in the 1940s.
Well, see, I live in Jackson, Wyoming, and we have one oncologist here.
Okay. I was going to ask you that. You're not in Houston, we're
no,
New York.
You got one oncologist. I put my own team together years ago because that's where I did deals. I always had other professionals with me, so I put my own team together when I started. That may be the reason I'm alive today. Nobody will ever know. But here, you don't have those teams.
Yeah.
And they don't have communication protocols. A friend of mine's daughter, about 6 months ago, was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer at the age of 25.
Oh my goodness.
And they asked if I could find the best doctors in the world for her. And so that's how I came across all the NIH studies about this multidisciplinary approach. And so I started looking, and I finally found where I thought was the best hospital for them. And I mean, I could be wrong. But it was University of San Francisco Medical Center. And that's not who you would have thought about initially. But they have a multidisciplinary approach, and it is extraordinary. And the results are pretty amazing because they've got a team, and they approach it as a team. And there's none of this not invented here syndrome problem.
That makes a lot of sense to me. But I also think you got to sprinkle in some luck and also some locus of control stuff too. And most importantly, having connection to other humans in a healthy way while you're going through this is
critical.
And I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes, but I do have I've had clients that had the big C. I've had cancer, and my uncle, wasn't blood related, but he was like an uncle, just passed away from major health related, but along the lines of cancer kind of stuff. But I also circle back to the understanding that we're all one thought away from seeing what you see, Glenn. amidst the tumult of your major health crises and the how scared you must have felt when you got the initial diagnosis, you still saw beyond that. You saw you're like, you know what though? But Glenn has this intelligence within me. He's got this wisdom within me, and that he's going to follow that. And it doesn't come from our intellect. It comes from another place. And I think there's so much wisdom that you've gained from your astrophotography, and not a like literal sense, but in a psycho-spiritual sense. I know I'm going big woo, right?
I'm a research hound,
right?
And so, one of the things I did when I, first diagnosis, I was trying to find people who had my disease and what they did, and I found a gentleman who had written a couple of articles about it, and he had 6 months to live, and that's all he got.
Right.
And he said how lucky he was. It's unlike his friends who had died in Vietnam or of a heart attack or a car wreck. He had 6 months to make it right. And boy, did that resonate. And I mean, I'm in my 18th year, and you'd think as long as I've had you try, better be getting it right.
But can you get it right? I don't think you can get it wrong either.
Agreed.
I don't think you can get it wrong. I think that trying to get it right is made up. And I speak that as a coach and as someone who's had his own challenges, different, but very human. I don't think you can get it wrong. I think that our health is telling us something about how we treat ourselves, or not. I mean, that's what comes up for me.
Well, the neatest thing for me is my grandson.
Yeah.
Last summer, I love to play golf, and before I had the spine tumor, I had a +2 handicap, which was pretty good. And I got to teach him how to play golf. And I mean, the other day, my daughter and son-in-law took him to Top Golf, and he left Top Golf, and he called me and on my daughter's phone and said, "Grandpa, we need to come see me to play Top Golf with me." Well, I mean, that gives you a reason to live. And I mean, that's not something you think about. It just happens.
You don't need to.
No, it just is there.
Well, there's the miracle right there. That's what I'm pointing to. That's the blessing, and that's the gift. I mean, Glenn, you have so many blessings in your life. It's like, despite the health challenges, but what I love what you said. It's like, I'm not cancer. I'm not the label. It's like 7% of the way. It's like it's like, yeah, income tax. It's like I'm living. Even though you live in a red state, and we're not going to get into politics, but it's like you don't have. It's just an added tax that was blessed onto you, and sometimes it's painful. But you got a big Glenn Sturm cheerleading committee, including me, even though I've never met you in the flesh, that's rooting for you. And you got a brilliant intellect, and you have so many gifts in your life, and we're not going to poo-poo it, as my mother would say, or my Hungarian grandmother would say. But you're living this miracle and this gift called life in such a beautiful way. And I just want to thank you for being, and I also want to thank you for sharing your wisdom in your journey, because it's like you're the 4x4 in the mud, right? You were in the mud and you're spinning your tires. You're like, hell, I get out of this mud and this muck, but you're doing it and you're doing it beautifully. And life's messy, right? Life's a mess, but then it isn't. And then you go get to play Top Golf with your grandson.
Bingo. Let me tell you the other thing I did. That was my first book, Cancer Set Me Free. I've never said this publicly, but I think I've said it to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Anybody who has bought my book who has a friend who gets cancer, please give them your book And if you do that and you send me an email, I will sign a first edition of my book. I kept a bunch of them and send you a replacement.
Beautiful. The link to your book will be in the liner notes, I say, because I would say every episode is like it's like recording an album. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, so I grew up with records. And all the links to get in touch with you will be in the liner notes of the podcast episode. Glenn,
thank you.
Thank you for being here. And please don't be a stranger. Stay in touch. Let's definitely.
Well, and last to you is wherever I can do for you, please let me know. I'd consider.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what?
If there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know. I would consider it an honor to do that. Thank you.
Touche, for sure. Thank you, Glenn.
I'm Kiana, and I leveled up my business with Shopify. Once I figured out that Shopify was a thing, I never turned back. I can create a site with my eyes closed. Shopify thinks ahead of us, and it thinks about the customer more than anything. Every day I'm thinking about some other new business, but Shopify is doing it to me because it's so easy to use. It's like I can't stop. I'm addicted.
Start your free trial at Shopify.com.